Hey, what is up, guys? It's your boy, Kingdom Soldier, and I'm back again with another commentary. Yesterday on Twitter, a debate kind of blew up in the middle of the day out of nowhere based off of a tweet from ProoFy. And before I go into the debate and kind of my opinion of things, I do want to say, if you look up me on Game Battles, I have 2 pro points because I have played 1 GB match in my entire life, and I believe that might have been on AW. I don't remember what game it was on. So I am not classified as a GB kid. I just want to say that. Also, I have never casted a Call of Duty event. I was an analyst, so I'm not a caster either. So I'm completely neutral. Rest in peace, net neutrality, by the way. I am completely neutral on this topic. So basically, ProoFy must have had a rough match playing GBs, because you have to play GBs to get pro points. Well, you don't have to, but if you want pro points, you play GBs and you can get pro points. Well, unfortunately, GBs can be played by anyone. There is no pro player GB arena. Ooh, maybe I just came up with the idea. There is no pro player GB arena. Maybe we can make one, and then like the AMs can play into the pro player GB arena, and maybe you have to have a certain amount of pro points to play in that arena. I don't know how it can, maybe we can make people have to work their way to it somehow. There's got to be a solution. But basically, ProoFy tweeted that he wished, and I think he was trolling because he put a laughy face after it. But he said, can we create a blacklist of GB kids who go hard, who try hard in these tournaments? Now, it was just a silly little tweet. It looked like it was a troll. But Courage responded to the tweet, and he just basically said, this tweet sucks because there are people, and I'm summing up his argument. Twitter is like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But basically, what Courage was saying is that there are people that literally want to be you. They want to be ProoFy, and you are saying you don't want to play against them because they're trying hard. Okay, so before I go into the whole argument, I want to say this. One of the things that drives me crazy is terms like try hard. How have we turned a term that basically means do your best into something negative? Like, I just think it's hilarious that we've created this term called try hard, but it's a negative thing. Technically, every pro player, amateur player, up-and-coming player, pub stomper, everyone, YouTuber, everyone should be doing their best. And especially if you want to be a competitive Call of Duty player, you should do your best all the time. Now, I know that if you're Optic Gaming and you run into Team Allegiance, you might not put as much mentally and as much focus into that match as if you played Splice or TK. No pun intended. But it's like, I know that there's a difference, and what we've made it up is, oh, now I got to put my try hard pants on, and we've kind of made this term try hard, and so we kind of make some people feel bad for trying to be good. It's really a weird terminology. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is I understand ProoFy's frustration, because there is no sport where you play, like baseball players, MLB players, they don't play minor league teams. Not even for practice. LeBron and the Cavs, or Carmelo and Russell Westbrook and Paul George and the Thunder, they don't play against D-League teams. Not even for practice. Even if you go to a high school, the varsity team doesn't scrim the freshman team. Now, if they do, the varsity team is going to get worse playing easier opponents, and the freshman team is going to get demoralized losing to a better opponent that's not even playing their best. And that usually makes sense that you wouldn't want those teams to mix. And so when Aches chimed in on the argument, he completely left out I don't like this term, but I'm just going to use it because it's the term that everybody uses, GB kids. He completely left the GB kids out of the conversation, and even said to Jack, aka Courage, he said, he's like, of course they're going to try hard. Of course they're going to do their best. Look, I don't play competitively, but if I ran into any pro player in a match, I would sit up, I would sit down, I'd go super sweaty, try hard. Oh my gosh, I gotta do my best. If I can even just kill him one time. Like if I ran into Stumpy or Formal or something like that, even in a pub match, I would go my best. You watch a lot of Scump's videos and you see people talking mess, especially the ones where he loses. You see people talking mess and they're like, Scump, I'm gonna get you, Scump, I'm gonna get you. They're just trying hard because they're playing against a pro, and you want to, you kind of want to prove that you're better than you think you are. And even, there was a European pro player that tweeted and said he remembered when he was an AM and he ran into Marky B in an online tournament or a GB match, and he put on his tryhard pants, and he said last map Marky B got 0 kills, and it meant so much to him. And now he's a pro, but before he was a pro, that meant so much to him. So of course, if you're an amateur player, you're gonna try hard. So the blacklisting thing is the part of this that makes no sense, and I'm pretty sure that ProoFy originally was trolling, but then when Jack and all these players went crazy, he sounded a little more serious, and it got to the point where even there was other people telling him to calm down, because it got to the point where he was like, look at my last tweet. A lot of the people responding are GB kids, tryhards, GB tryhards, let's start the list. And I don't know if he was trolling or not, but this is a topic for discussion, because I like Aches' approach. He just kept saying to Jack, while they're going back and forth, Aches just kept saying, you just have to admit the system is broken. No other professional athlete has to play semi-pro or amateur athletes in their field. That's true. So we do need to come up with something else. And I think Hitch probably summed up the argument best. He said, number one, he's like, let me sum up he basically gave his solution. And he said, number one, pro players should not have to play amateur players and teams they don't know in non-tournaments, like, non-lands or 2Ks and stuff like that. And he said, secondly, they should expect that these other people are going to do their best when they run into them. That's basically it. I mean, to be honest, that's basically the situation. Is right now, unfortunately, in Call of Duty, in competitive Call of Duty, this is the system we have. And when you run into players, you have to expect that they are going to do their best. I think the funny thing is, though, is that there are some things that randomly, I've seen it in previous games where there's nade spots and there's meta and there's different unique strategies that pro players have learned playing amateur players, because they do things that pro players would never try. They just play completely different. One of the reasons you see a lot of top teams in other sports lose to bottom teams and lower level teams, and we've seen it in Call of Duty, one of the reasons is because they introduce a meta that the top team wasn't aware of. If you watch, Optic Gaming just did a really good video they called it like the greatest team ever of all time. And they did a video, and it was Damon and Krim, I believe, talking about their going to COD Champs and their experience with COD Champs. And one of the things Krim said is, I believe it was the Black Ops 3 COD Champs, there was a lot of things that were different when they got there than the way people were playing online and at other tournaments. It was like the meta had changed, and everybody was doing all these, these random picks and bans and things like this, but then when they got to the event, it was totally different. And honestly, there's some things that can be learned by these lesser teams. There's always something you can learn. And so I just think at this point, they have to make the most of it. However, a solution does need to be had. And I couldn't think of one when I was thinking about what I was gonna say on this video. I was like, I don't know. I don't got a solution. I mean, I like Hitch's solution, but I will say that what I said at the beginning of the video that literally just slipped out, if we could create some type of a pro player GB ladder, or something like that. It would probably work best. And then you have an amateur ladder that you have to have a certain amount of pro points to play in the pro player ladder. Now, here's a couple of things that I have questions about. What is a pro player? Is it someone that was a pro player 3 to 4 games ago? Is it someone that was a pro player, like if Stainville came back, would he be considered a pro player? Like, what is a pro player? I don't know. If TP came back on the scene with no pro points, would he be considered a pro player? We would probably call him that because we know he can play the caliber of a pro player. But what is a pro player? Old school Halo was like if you finished in a certain number, like top 16 or whatever, you were considered a pro. I don't know the real number, it might have been top 8. But it's like, what is a pro player in Call of Duty? What does that mean? You get a certain amount of pro points. When you go to an event, it's like you have to make it to the bracket play, and then you're considered a pro player and you can go to the lounge, So what is a pro player? Because when we say things like pros shouldn't have to play against, well, what is a pro? Is it someone that says, I'm a pro because I've placed at LAN 3 years ago in the top 16? I'm just asking an honest question. I'm throwing no shade whatsoever. What, and it's a real question, because does that mean if you place, where are you a pro? And the reason I'm asking that is because at what place do you say these are the pro players and these are the non-pro players? That's just, I guess, one of the questions I have about all of this. I don't know how you determine that. So you guys leave your opinions in the comments below. I am sad about net neutrality. That's really unfortunate. I'm not even gonna make a video about it because it's just sadness, and everybody and their mom is talking about it. I do want to give a shout out to COD Gamepedia. I think that's how they type it now. Just really great information, great tweets, and kept me up to date all weekend. And I've been following them, and I don't know who's running that Twitter, but it's really good. You guys should check them out and follow them. This is your boy Kingdom Soldier, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!